What's up, everybody? Jimmy Faluka is reporting once again, following the Monday Night Raw after Payback, along with my good friend Frank. Frank, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's up, James?
Yeah,
We
we
got
got
a
a
lot to
lot.
talk.
Are you still shocked from last night's occurrence?
Not so much shocked. I thought something like that was going to happen. I guess everybody's shocked because it was Rollins, But
I
I guess,
think so. I
yeah, in
agree,
hindsight, it makes sense, because he was the least expected guy.
and
I
that's
think
why
it
he was
probably benefit
perfect.
most.
That's why I feel he was perfect. But I guess we'll get to that after we get through Payback. I have to say, Payback was a pretty decent pay per view. You know, there were some matches I enjoyed and there were some I didn't. The show opener with Sheamus and Antonio Cesaro was exceptional. I really enjoyed. I think they have good chemistry together, and I have to say, they left it to where they can continue the feud, to where it didn't make Cesaro look weak, but it didn't make Sheamus look bad either. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I don't know. Sheamus is like Cena. He's unstoppable. Cesaro swung him around, and like 5 seconds later, he put him in a small package. I didn't really buy that. I didn't like that. I didn't
Well,
like
I
the
didn't
ending.
like. I don't think anyone liked the finish because most of us here like Cesaro. But I will say that Sheamus, that the option is always going to be there for him to turn heel. I have a feeling that that'll be eventually what happens. I don't see Sheamus staying in the persona he is for the rest of the year. I'm sure that at some point they'll turn him. Um, I don't know all the matches in succession, but we had Bad News Barrett against Rob Van Dam. I really wasn't feeling the match. I love Rob Van Dam. I think he's
Oh
cool,
yeah, the bad guy. I'm sorry.
but I guess Wade Barrett. I still got to warm up to him. I like his gimmick. I think his gimmick is really good. But I guess because I'm so reminded of his time in the Nexus and how that was squashed by a certain leader of the C Nation, it's kind of hard to warm up to him, because especially with the Intercontinental title, the way that belt has been treated the last few years, they look like they're going to make it mean something, and then it just goes downhill. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but also they put him up against RVD. Not that RVD is bad. You either give RVD a push, or just don't even include him, because we all know he's not going to win the belt. He's a part-time wrestler, and you just know it's just
No,
in there.
of course. Any match that the finish, it's hard to get extremely excited unless it depends on the people that are in there, because there are some people that could take a match that's predictable and make it, a heart-stopping, event to watch.
Yeah.
I'm sure the last few years with the streak, none of us expected it to get beat, but during all of his matches, our hearts were in our throat because they always came close to ending. Then we had the the women's match, which was Alicia. I think it was Alicia Fox against Paige.
Yeah.
Eh, I think that they've done a very poor job of booking Paige as a credible Divas champion. She's nothing like she was on NXT. On NXT, she was more forceful. On NXT, she seemed a hell of a lot more powerful. And on WWE Raw, she takes punishment and then wins in the last few seconds, which.
Yeah, well, that's to make the fans happy, the little girls happy. They have to root for her. Just make
Oh,
a
but see, the
comeback.
thing is, I like Paige. I just don't like the way they're booking her.
Yeah, I don't think they care about the women's division too much.
No, they don't. Next, we unfortunately had John Cena beating Bray Wyatt in the Last Man Standing match, which I would have said I enjoyed that match, but one of the guys on our OWN page, Rob Constantino, made a great point that all it takes is one crappy finish to take a good match and make it suck. And I'm going to be very honest with you, and I need to go off on this uninterrupted. I understand that John Cena is the cash cow for WWE, and I understand that he makes them a lot of money and that he is a make-a-wish guy. I understand that. However, if the WWE is that insecure in his fans, and his fans are that insecure that if he'll lose cleanly, that they'll stop buying his merchandise, then that means they have the wrong guy. Because here are the facts. Hulk Hogan lost a great number of matches in his career, especially when he was, the guy. He lost to the Ultimate Warrior. He lost to Andre the Giant. He lost to The Undertaker. he was eliminated in some big time Survivor Series matches. Did it stop the fans from buying Hulkamania merchandise? No. Bret the Hitman Hart, when he was on top, he lost plenty of times. He lost to Bob Backlund. He lost to Shawn Michaels. He lost to Hunter Hearst Helmsley. He lost to several people. Did it stop him from being a top guy? No. Same with Stone Cold. It can go on and on. The Rock, John Cena, they have done everything in their power to protect him. And I'm going to be very honest with you. It builds resentment because it shows that, you know, they had a very genuine character in Bray Wyatt, and I'm a big fan of his work. I think that from where he was at the fact that he went from Husky Harris to Bray Wyatt, there's no comparison. The guy got so much better, not just in better shape, but his character was just intriguing, and we haven't had and we haven't had a supernatural character like that since The Undertaker. And I've said multiple times that if they book this guy right, he could be the next Undertaker. He could be the new supernatural character. And, you know, coming from me, I'm telling the truth. But, you know, they made the two matches that Bray Wyatt needed to win in this feud with Cena, he didn't. And the match he didn't need to win, he won, and in crappy fashion. And what aggravates me is that when you complain about things like this, you have all these stupid names thrown at you. Smark, Mark, this, that, the other thing. If I complain about a bad movie, I'm not calling an internet movie fan. If I complain about a piece of music that I don't like, I'm not calling an internet music fan. But when it comes to professional wrestling, you're not allowed to have an opinion. You're not allowed to express your displeasure about it. And John Cena seems to be the focal point of a lot of fans' displeasure. And if you've noticed, since 2005, since John Cena got on top, the ratings have slowly gone down. And you want to know something? Yes, he makes them the most money, but does that mean that he has done the best business for them that anyone else has ever done? Absolutely not. And I think it's time for the WWE to start investing in someone else, because this guy, I'm sorry, he's been on top for so many years. Even my dad, and you've met my dad. My dad likes John Cena. He does not like him always winning. My dad put it this way. He said it's always the same result, and it's underwhelming. You know, they had a chance to make Bray Wyatt a serious threat of a villain. And not for nothing, he beat Daniel Bryan clean at the Royal Rumble. And Daniel Bryan's your world heavyweight champion. Essentially, Bray Wyatt's the number one contender. Yet he loses clean to John Cena at WrestleMania and in the blow-off to their feud. What is the logic in that, Frank?
Well, what's even worse is last night they didn't even mention him. He didn't even show up. And Bray Wyatt didn't show up. Cena didn't mention him. There was no mention of the feud. It's just, I don't know, bro. It's very confusing, you know? It's just,
no, they mentioned Bray Wyatt. John Cena says, I doubt we've seen the last of him. But I'll be very honest with you. To me,
of course, but no shit, Sherlock. What? Do you really think he was buried alive? I mean, not you, but I'm saying the fans. Do you think the fans think he's buried alive and let him again? Of course he's coming back.
Well, you want to know, I hear people saying that Bray Wyatt was elevated. I heard the same talk about Ziggler and Sandow, and look where they are.
I think last night Cena should have mentioned how tough Wyatt was, more and more. You know, how was the toughest opponent to date in recent memory. You know, that could have did something. Instead, you know, he came out and he started brown-nosing up to Daniel Bryan. You know.
Well, the reason that he's doing that is because he's trying to get heat off of him. And let's touch on this subject. John Cena got with the Usos because the Usos are a hot tag team.
Right.
He's kissing up to Daniel Bryan because
he's trying to get a rub.
Because he's trying to get a rub. And if you've been on top for that many years and you're still trying to get a rub, there's a problem.
Well, Hulk Hogan used to do the same thing. He always used to team up with, like, the Junkyard
Dog. Yeah, but let me tell you something.
something.
You never had to see the ratings plummet the way they have with Hulk Hogan on top. And let's be honest, when Hulk Hogan came out up until 1992, he always got an eruption of cheers. This guy, for me, if you want to talk WWE, WCW, NWA, this guy is the worst face of a company I have ever seen. Ric Flair.
Well, maybe that's worst, but
to me, he is the worst. Because look who you're.
It's sort of like it's peaked. It's peaked, and it's not going to go higher, and it's only going to go lower with the face.
I think it's time for him to step down. That's where I stand on that.
Well, he's not going to step down, but if they could make a change with a tweak in the character, and maybe who knows, all that brown nosing and referencing to D-Bike is going to lead up to a SummerSlam rematch.
The only way I'd be okay with a SummerSlam rematch is if either Bryan beats him or Cena beats him and turns a heel.
Right.
That's the only way I'd be okay with. If John Cena's just going to overcome the guy he didn't beat last year and be happy go do, I'm sorry, I'm not with it. I've seen John Cena do this 1,000 times, and John Cena is. I'm going to make a comparison. And I know it's easy for me to make this. John Cena is not like The Undertaker, that he could do the same gimmick for over 10 years and get cheered.
Right.
The Undertaker is of a different ilk. I don't care that John Cena apparently he sold more tickets than The Undertaker. That's the latest argument I've had with someone. Or John Cena is more recognized than The Undertaker. I don't believe either one of those two things. But
he's more of a mainstream guy, and his character's more mainstream. But could you imagine the fans of Cena beats Bryan at SummerSlam for the belt?
Especially if it's in Los Angeles, they'll boo him out of the building.
Oh my God, they'll really be right.
Let me tell you something, Frank. At some point they have to look themselves in the mirror and say, okay, this guy has flatlined as far as being a good guy because the fans don't buy it. Look at Rocky Maivia. Did the fans buy him? No.
I don't know. We keep saying that, but then you see them come out and everybody stands up. So
just because you get a reaction doesn't. See, that mindset needs to be destroyed. That if you're getting a reaction, you're doing your job. That's not the case. When you're the face of the company, you're supposed to get cheered unrelentlessly. Look at Daniel Bryan. The guy comes out and the people stand up and they applaud him. I mean, did John Cena ever get a "you deserve it" chant after winning a title? Absolutely not, because the fans didn't think he deserved it. They think he only got it because of his look. But let's get off the Cena thing. Unless you have something else you'd like to add to it.
Okay.
Nothing else? Okay. So let's get to the main event. Oh my God. The Shield and Evolution. The last two pay-per-views, these two guys, these two teams stole the show. And I was so impressed with how good they were. All six of them. And I will give Triple H credit where it is due. He left the golden shovel in the back and he did the job. As he should. Maybe John Cena should take a lesson from Triple H. Know when to put the young guys over, because that is how you put the young guys over. You put the young guys over by losing to them clean. The Shield did not lose one member in that elimination tag match. And those are my favorite types of tag matches, elimination tag matches, to where you truly test the strength of the team. And I'll tell you something, they had some sick spots in that match. Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns. I think if the future is in their hands, the future is bright.
Yeah, I noticed they went out. I think that was kind of violent for these days. That match, they came for Roman Reigns. They a lot of chair shots.
Hey, listen, and you want to know why they all stepped up their game? Because the NXT guys had a pay-per-view, not a pay-per-view. They had a show, right before they had or as they're calling it on the network, an event, and they did phenomenally. You have
to differentiate the pay-per-view with the regular Raw show. I mean, most of these pay-per-views, it just looks like a long, uninterrupted Raw show. There's really nothing that differentiates the pay-per-views with the regular shows.
But the thing is, though, they turned up the volume for Payback.
Yeah, but you have to. It's a pay-per-view. What makes the pay-per-view different than a regular Raw show?
I agree with you though, Frank. I think they should turn up the volume at these pay-per-views, and they haven't been doing that until this year. I mean, think about it. The Royal Rumble was a complete flop. I think we'll agree on that. The only good part of that night was Daniel Bryan versus Bray Wyatt. That was the only good part about that night. Elimination Chamber, you had the Wyatts versus the Shield for the first time. That match was amazing. To me, it's a match of the year candidate. And you had the Chamber match, which was entertaining. Look at WrestleMania. Triple H and Daniel Bryan was an amazing match. The main event was an amazing match. And then you had the shock of the streak ending. Now you go to Extreme Rules. The Shield and Evolution was a great match to watch. Then you had Daniel Bryan and Kane in the Extreme Rules match, which, let's be very honest, that match was amazing because of all all the elements in that match was great. And then, of course, you had last Sunday the six-man tag with the Shield and Evolution again, and plus you had. I know you don't care much for it, but I thought that Sheamus versus Cesaro was good. So the WWE is starting to show consistently that their pay-per-views are starting to have better quality matches than they've had in the last few years.
Right.
I think.
But I'm just saying we have to see something, and even if we get the matches we want to see, and the matches are pretty good, we have to see something that's different. Like
No, of course they have to stay consistent. I agree. Now getting to Raw. Raw started with Batista quitting, but obviously he's going to
Batista.
Yeah, Blue Tista. I'm sorry, but that was funny. I mean, Dave actually thought that he could get away with the skinny jeans. That didn't work. He thought he can get away with ripping his skinny jeans. It didn't work, and he thought he could get away with wearing the attire he did at Payback.
That's basketball wear. If you put him in shorts or jersey, that's a basketball player.
Well, fact of the matter was, listen. Dave has gotten better since the Rumble. Since the Rumble and the Elimination Chamber, he has gotten himself into better shape. I applaud Batista. He has gotten himself better. Hopefully, when he comes back after he's done promoting his movie, it'll be a different story. Maybe he'll be welcomed back better because he's not taking up Daniel Bryan's spot. I think that was the foundation of the people booing him because they felt, oh, this motherfucker's coming back to take over Daniel Bryan's spot, and he don't deserve it. Now, we also had a tag team match between, it was RVD and Sheamus against Wade Barrett and Cesaro. And the match was okay. I kind of got into it. And then Happy Heyman got involved and pulled Cesaro out of there, and they left.
Yeah, I don't like that. They're making Cesaro look weak. He's hugging him, he's hugging Heyman. He ran out of there. Like,
I think that since he's gotten with Heyman, other than the first night that he got with Heyman, which was the night after WrestleMania, his momentum has started to slow down. Cesaro.
I agree 100%. I think his match, they should have plugged him in a match against Daniel Bryan right after WrestleMania. Instead of that.
I think that exactly, especially because the let's be very honest, the Extreme Rules match that Kane and Daniel Bryan had was good, but the storyline has been stinko. I'm talking Giant Gonzalez bad.
Yeah, and again now last night she mentioned that if he comes back, that's going to be the match at.
See, that's another thing I left out from the pay-per-view. Brie Bella quit WWE because Stephanie gave Daniel Bryan the choice of either surrender the titles or I could fire your wife. She didn't even give Stephanie the chance to fire her. She just quit. And what that tells me, Frank, is that they're trying to get everyone to talk of, is Daniel Bryan going to make it? Is he not going to make it? Is the Money in the Bank match going to be for the title? I think that if they were going to strip him of the title, they would have, because you know how they're on top of everything. You've told me many times, they've planned things way in advance. The guy has gone to his doctors. He's had plenty of time to rest. The show is in 3-4 weeks. He will be there, and he will compete against Kane, and he will beat him. I have no doubt about that, because I believe truly, if they were going to strip him, they would have done it already.
Yeah, I agree. They obviously
but after this, the thing with Kane's got to end. I don't ever want to see them. I don't ever want to see them wrestle each other again. I mean, personally, I think they should have suspended Kane for injuring their champion to make it seem like they're being genuine, so that way he's off television and he's off promoting his movie, and Daniel Bryan can come back and feud with somebody else, like a Cesaro, and try to get him fired up again. Or a returning Chris Jericho. I mean, because come on, the match quality would be way better.
Well, but let me tell you, this doesn't look good for Daniel Bryan. I mean, just look at it. He's not even in the main event anymore. It's all about the Shield and Evolution.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Let's be very honest. The Extreme Rules, when he did compete, he was the main event. And I have no doubt that if he was ready to compete at Payback, he would have been in the main event, because they're not going to treat his title reign like it's not main event quality. Unfortunately, because the guy got hurt, they have to put something as the main event. I don't look at it.
I know, I'm just saying it now. It's like...
Well, the fans are emotionally invested in the Evolution the Evolution Shield storyline, which is good. And it's like Jim Ross has always said, if you can get the fans emotionally invested, you win. The fans are already emotionally invested in Daniel Bryan. Now, let's be very honest. At WrestleMania, did the fans give two shits that the Shield was facing the Outlaws and Kane? No. But this feud with 3 former world champions made them even more relevant. So I look at it as a chance for the Shield to shine in the champion's absence. That's really not a bad thing. You're still keeping intrigue, and you know when Daniel Bryan comes out that the people go nuts for him. I do not worry about that man one bit. Now,
Well, I'll tell you, the Raw after Money in the Bank will be pretty interesting. We'll see who
you know
they
what's
line up.
funny? Last year, I was at the Raw after Money in the Bank when John Cena chose Daniel Bryan to be his opponent for SummerSlam. I was there with my girlfriend and with Ryan and my sister Nicole. And let me tell you, that was in Brooklyn. That was in Brooklyn. That was in the Barclays Center. And let me tell you something. When John Cena said Daniel Bryan's name, the place erupted. I mean, that is why I said I still can't understand why Daniel Bryan didn't win the Royal Rumble. It was clear from the summertime that this was the guy. It was clear as crystal. To me, it didn't make any sense. What I would have did if they were that desperate to keep Batista in the main event, what they could have did was have Daniel Bryan win the Rumble by having Randy Orton screw Batista over because he don't want to fight Batista. He'd rather fight Daniel Bryan because he figures, hey, he's a B+. I could beat him. Right. So then what you do is you have Batista enter the Elimination Chamber match, and whoever wins gets added to the title match, and you have Randy Orton face Brock Lesnar. Because Brock Lesnar was supposed to get a title match, and I would have had Taker screw Brock Lesnar over to ensure that they have their match, and then they could do what they did. So you could have kept all the matches as they were, but give the right guy the Rumble win, which unfortunately, and I like you said months ago, the Rumble's going to be remembered as the night that the old guard gave up their shield, and it was the young guys' time to take over, because when the fans rejected Batista the way they did, I can't recall in recent history that an established guy other than John Cena that has been that rejected by the fans. There's no way that the WWE planned for that to happen. I don't believe that for a second. Do you?
No, obviously not. Obviously not. They had to switch. They had to go notable, you know.
Absolutely. You know, I'm not like Rob Constantino who thinks that this was the plan from the beginning to put Daniel Bryan in the main event. Rob's still drinking the Vince McMahon Kool-Aid.
No, I honestly think that they were just going to go through with that, and like what they did at SummerSlam, that was going to be his moment at last year's SummerSlam, and then he was just going to fade away to the.
That's what I think too, but I guess that proves to me, Frank, that the fans still have power.
Of course they do. They always have power.
Well, a lot of people seem to think that the fans complaining does nothing, but Daniel Bryan's proof positive that it does do something. But moving on, Stephanie McMahon came out and made the statement that you made about Daniel Bryan having to either compete or surrender the title by Money in the Bank. John Cena came out, talking up Daniel Bryan, and like we said earlier, we don't have to go word for word with this. He's trying his hardest to get loved by the crowd.
Or is he laying down the groundwork for the Daniel Bryan feud after Money in the Bank?
Well, I hope not. I really do. I think Bray Wyatt is the uncrowned #1 contender because he beat Daniel Bryan clean at the Rumble.
I don't know. I think it's unsolved business. I think Cena and Bryan have to go at each other because remember, Cena said if he ever wins, Bryan's going to get the first shot. He's a fight champion.
I don't want to see that happen because I know the outcome. Daniel Bryan's going to job to John Cena, and John Cena.
No, I don't think so. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Well, I'm just sick. The selfish part of me, and I'm pointing up to Ric Flair's autograph, I don't want to see John Cena break Flair's record as the 16-time heavyweight champion. I'm sorry. But that's just something. They broke the streak. They disgraced that. They shouldn't disgrace Flair's legacy.
Yeah, well, I think, if Cena wins the belt again, he's only going to hold it for a month or so. I think he can just...
I think that, there are certain streaks that should not be broken. The streak was one of them, but unfortunately they did that, and now they're saying that was a mistake. They shouldn't have done it, which I'm laughing at them now. But they're
only saying that because of the reaction they got.
Because the thing was, it's like Cornette said. People really didn't want to see that happen. They don't like to see stuff like that happen to legends that have served them for so many years. I mean, hey, listen, we'll save that part for later on, but Cena ended up wrestling Kane at the request of Stephanie McMahon, and the match was what it was. It was a snores fest from what I was told, because when John Cena started to have his match, I changed the channel.
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
What I
That's
do,
the channel. I just got distracted.
what I do when John Cena comes out is I change the channel because I don't want to give him ratings. That's how I handle it. That's how I handle it. Now let's get. I believe Alexander Rusev. I turned back right at the time that Alexander Rusev was up on some sort of a platform.
Yeah, they gave him
some sort of wrestling award.
Yeah. But for a minute, I thought that they were going to end Raw that way.
Yeah, I know because it was almost 11 o'clock, and then.
Yeah. I thought, oh my God, this is WCW all over again.
Yeah, and then. Careful, we got some WCW fans on the page. And and now we get to the main part of Raw. Ugh. I'm still flabbergasted because I would have expected Ambrose to be the one to turn against the Shield, not Seth Rollins. And I think that's how a lot of people felt, and I think that's why they did it. And I'll be honest with you. I applaud WWE for doing what they did with that because I don't think anyone... I think anyone that says, oh yeah, I saw Seth Rollins turning on them, they're full of shit. They're full of shit. Because nobody saw that coming. And let me tell you something. What that tells me is, okay, they just replaced Batista with Seth Rollins. Imagine how good that kid must feel.
Of course, and it just raised Seth Rollins to great heights, you know?
Oh, it does, and I guarantee you.
He's the golden child. Everybody knows he's
for the future. He's the future golden boy. We get that.
Ambrose could stand on his own. You know, he's just as tough as anybody, and he's good on the mic.
Ambrose reminds me.
Is the guy who needed that little extra push, even though I think he's the best wrestler out of all of them. The best in-ring performer.
Seth Rollins?
I think so. I think he's the best in-ring performer out of all three of them.
Out of all three of them, I'll agree with you.
Performer in maybe WWE.
I'll give you that he's the best performer out of all three members of the Shield. That I'll give you. I say Ambrose has the psychology down to a science. Roman Reigns is the look. Not that I don't like Roman Reigns, because I think he's leaps and bounds better than he was when he first showed up.
Yeah, I think now Roman Reigns is more than just a look. He has a lot of good moves. He developed the Superman punch. He's got the power bomb. He's got that drop kick from outside the ring where he runs.
Spear.
Yeah, the spear. I can't forget that. You know, so I think he's got his moveset down.
I think if he improves on his mic work, he'll be the total package.
Yeah, he will. He's gotten better and better and better since.
No, he has, and that's why it's good to see that, that's what you want out of factions. You want to get a few stars come out of a faction, but the Shield, which I think is the best faction in the last couple of years, is proof positive that sometimes all the members of the faction come out shining. Because I say Ambrose has a bright future, Rollins obviously has a great future, and Reigns definitely has a great future. And how great must the Shield feel knowing that they have such bright futures, and it's all three of them.
I think how great must WWE
feel. It just goes to show you, Ambrose and Rollins don't fit their mold of a top star. But it goes to show you when they step outside their mold, that they find great things. Like, I'll be honest, Vince didn't think that Mick Foley and Steve Austin were top guys, and look what they ended up being.
Listen, we've said it a million times. Nobody knows the formula for what's going to work, what's not going to work. And sometimes something just clicks with the fans, and all the stars align, and it just magic happens. That's what we all want to see as fans.
Absolutely. Magic sometimes happens.
And who would have thought, if you would have told me 3 years ago that these three guys coming in, these three indie guys are going to come in, they're going to dress in black and call themselves the Shield, and they're going to be the best performers in WWE. I mean, would you have thought I was crazy?
I would have said you were nuts, because I wouldn't have thought for 1 second that WWE would take... They're actually two indie guys, because Roman Reigns is part of the Samoan lineage. He's part of that family, so he was kind of born into the business, which is another reason I respect him, because I think Samoans are born knowing how to do this job.
Well, listen, if you grow up around it, if your pops and your whole family is part of a business, if your whole family is
off on you.
Yeah, if your family works in the construction business, you're going to know how to put up a sheetrock.
Before we end this segment, do you say all three members eventually will one day be heavyweight champion?
Yeah, probably. If not all, 2 out of 3 will get a taste of that championship.
Even if it's a 1 month title reign, I would love to see at least all three. I'd love to see all three of them.
I could see them feuding against each other for the belt.
Can you imagine WrestleMania 31, a triple threat match, the Shield against each other for the title?
There you go.
Could you
There's no
imagine?
idea.
You think that would sell?
Who's the champion?
I say have either Rollins or Ambrose go in as the champion, and then Roman Reigns takes it off them.
All right, well, we'll see.
Well, we're gonna end this segment, and then Frank and I will be right back with some fantasy booking. I hope you guys are having fun. Me and Frank will be right back.